What happens when a guest who once walked away from this table comes back, looks straight at the people who questioned her, and decides she's done staying quiet? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. Whoopi leans back in her chair, fingers wrapped around her mug, eyes already scanning the audience as the applause starts up. All right, she says, half smiling, half bracing herself. So today is one of those days. The clapping tapers into murmurs, that low studio buzz that means everyone knows something's coming. Joy jumps in quickly, as she always does. We're very excited, she says, stretching the word excited just enough that it lands with a little edge. Our next guest is an Academy Award, winning actress, producer, activist. And someone who hasn't been here in a while, Sunny adds, tilting her head toward the camera. By choice. There's a ripple in the audience. A few knowing laughs. Someone claps a little too loudly, then stops. Whoopi raises her hand. Okay, let's not set the tone before she even walks out. She looks straight into the camera. Please welcome Brie Larson. The applause is strong, but it's not the usual warm, easy kind. It's louder in spots, hesitant in others. Brie walks out with a composed smile, shoulders back, giving a small wave. She hugs Sarah first, then Sunny, then Joy, and finally Whoopi. The hug with Whoopi lasts half a second longer than expected, just enough for cameras to catch it. They all sit. So, Whoopi says, exhaling. Welcome back. Thank you, Brie replies. Her voice is calm, steady. It's been a minute. Joy chuckles. That's one way to put it. Brie nods, still smiling. Yeah, it is. There's a beat. Whoopi shuffles her cards, but doesn't look down at them. You've been busy. New projects, producing, activism, all of it. I have, Brie says. And I've been thinking. A lot. Sunny leans forward. About conversations, Brie answers, glancing briefly at Sunny, then back to Whoopi. About what happens when we talk about women, power, and who gets to be heard. The audience lets out a soft, ooh, like they're sensing the shift before it fully arrives. Whoopi lifts an eyebrow. All right, go on. Brie takes a breath. The last time I was here, things got tense. Joy laughs lightly. Tense. That's television, honey. Brie turns to Joy. It is, but it's also real people. The laughter drops off. Joy straightens in her seat. Are you saying we weren't being real? No, Brie says quickly. I'm saying I was. Another pause. You can almost hear the cameras adjusting. Sarah jumps in, trying to soften it. I think what Brie's saying is that these conversations can get complicated. They can, Brie agrees, then adds. But complicated doesn't mean careless. The audience reacts again, louder this time. Whoopi holds up her hand. All right. Let's slow this down. She looks at Brie. You came back here for a reason. So say it. Brie nods, lips pressing together for a second. I came back because I didn't love how things ended. And I didn't love how what I said was framed after. Sunny interjects. Framed by who? By the media. By clips. By headlines, Brie says. And honestly, by this table. That lands. Hard. Joy lets out a sharp laugh. Oh, come on. Whoopi turns to Joy. Let her finish. Brie keeps her eyes on Whoopi now. When I talked about representation, about making space for voices that aren't usually centered, it got turned into this idea that I was attacking people. That I was angry. That I hated men. That I hated critics. Sunny crosses her arms. You did say certain opinions mattered more than others. I said context matters, Brie replies, her tone firmer now. And I stand by that. The audience claps. Not everyone, but enough. Whoopi nods slowly. Here's the thing, Brie. We push back here. That's our job. I know, Brie says. And I'm not afraid of pushback. I am afraid of being reduced. Joy leans forward. Reduced to what? To a soundbite, Brie says. To a headline that says Brie Larson slams or Brie Larson attacks. That wasn't what I was doing. Sunny shakes her head slightly. But intent doesn't erase impact. And impact doesn't erase intent, Brie shoots back, then immediately softens her tone. Both can exist. The room goes quiet for a second. Whoopi breaks it with a small nod. That's fair. Joy looks between them. So why come here now? Why reopen this? Brie exhales. Because I'm tired of pretending it didn't bother me. And because I respect this space enough to have the conversation face to face instead of through press statements. The audience applauds again, stronger this time. Whoopi gestures toward the crowd. See, they're with you right now. Brie smiles faintly. I can feel that. Sunny isn't fully convinced. But you have to understand from our side, when you say certain voices don't need to be centered. I didn't say they don't need to exist, Brie cuts in, then catches herself. Sorry, I didn't say they don't matter at all. I said they're already loud. Joy raises her hands. There it is. There what is? Brie asks. That frustration, Joy says. That edge. Brie nods slowly. Yeah, because I've spent years explaining the same sentence over and over. Whoopi leans forward now, elbows on the table. And we've spent years watching audiences feel talked down to. The tension thickens. You can feel the audience holding its breath. Brie meets Whoopi's gaze. That was never my intention. But intentions don't always land, Whoopi replies calmly. I know, Brie says. But neither does silence. Another wave of applause. A few people stand, then sit back down awkwardly. Whoopi glances at the clock. We're going to take a quick break, she says, then looks back at Brie. But when we come back, we're going to keep this going. Brie nods. That's why I'm here. The music starts, the camera pulls back, and the audience buzz swells. Whispers, claps, phones already coming out as the screen fades, the tension very much unresolved. The music fades back in and out quickly, applause rolling through the studio again, louder now, charged differently than before. Whoopi waits for it to die down, her expression serious but controlled. All right, she says, tapping the table lightly. We're back. And clearly this struck a nerve. Brie sits upright, hands folded, eyes forward. She looks calmer than the room feels. Whoopi turns to her. You said silence doesn't land either. Explain that. Brie nods slowly. When I stayed quiet after that last appearance, people filled in the blanks for me. They decided what I meant, who I was, what my politics were, how I felt about entire groups of people. And the louder it got, the quieter I felt like I was expected to be. Sunny leans in. But you weren't quiet everywhere. You spoke out online. Yes, Brie replies. But that's different. Tweets don't talk back. This table does. A murmur ripples through the audience. Someone claps once, then stops. Joy tilts her head. So you're saying this is harder? It is, Brie says without hesitation. Because I can see your faces. I can hear your tone. And I can feel when something I say gets flattened into something else. Joy smiles tightly. Welcome to our world. Brie looks at her. I know. And I'm not saying it's easy for you either. That catches Joy slightly off guard. She blinks, then shrugs. All right. Whoopi gestures between them. Here's where I want to dig in. When you say representation, some people hear exclusion. And that's not what I'm advocating for, Brie replies. I'm advocating for expansion. Sunny raises an eyebrow. But expansion sometimes feels like loss to people who've always been centered. Exactly, Brie says. And that discomfort doesn't mean something wrong is happening. The audience reacts audibly to that. Some applause, some groans. Joy jumps in. But you have to understand, when you say certain critics' opinions matter less. I said they matter differently, Brie interrupts, her voice still steady but firmer now. If a movie is about a specific lived experience, then people who live that experience bring a perspective others can't. Sunny crosses her arms. But film is subjective. Anyone can have an opinion. They can, Brie agrees. And they do. Loudly. Everywhere. The audience laughs, tension breaking for a split second. Whoopi nods. But here's the pushback. When you say that publicly, it can sound like you're dismissing criticism. I'm not dismissing criticism, Brie says. I'm questioning who we automatically elevate as the default authority. Joy shakes her head. That's a dangerous line. Brie looks directly at Joy now. Why? Because it turns conversation into categories, Joy says. You're this, so you get to speak. You're that, so maybe you don't. That's already happening, Brie replies quickly. I'm just pointing it out. The audience reacts again, louder this time. Someone shouts, she's right. A producer's voice murmurs from off-camera. Whoopi raises her hand. Okay. Let's keep this from turning into a rally. Brie smiles briefly, then looks serious again. I'm not trying to rally anyone. I'm trying to be honest. Sunny leans forward. Then let me be honest too. Some women watching felt alienated by what you said. Brie's expression softens. That hurts to hear. Truly. But it's real, Sunny continues. They felt like you were saying, if you don't agree with me, you're part of the problem. Brie nods slowly. I can see how that came across. And I take responsibility for that. The audience quiets. That wasn't expected. Joy looks at her closely. So you're saying you'd phrase it differently now? I'm saying I'd say more, Brie replies. I'd stay in the conversation longer instead of dropping a sentence and walking away. Whoopi smiles faintly. That's growth. Brie chuckles softly. Or exhaustion. That gets a laugh from the crowd. Whoopi leans back. You know, people forget we're all human up here. Sometimes, Brie says gently, it doesn't feel like they forget. It feels like they don't care. The room goes still again. Joy clears her throat. You're tough, Brie. You can take it. Brie turns to her. Being able to take it doesn't mean it doesn't hit. A wave of applause sweeps the audience. Even Joy nods reluctantly. Sunny glances at Whoopi. This is bigger than one interview. It always is, Whoopi says. Brie looks out at the audience now. I didn't come back to accuse anyone. I came back because I believe disagreement doesn't have to mean disrespect. Joy raises an eyebrow. But you felt disrespected. I felt unheard, Brie corrects. Whoopi taps the table again. That's an important distinction. Sunny exhales. So what would being heard look like to you? Brie pauses, choosing her words carefully. It looks like not assuming intent. It looks like asking follow-up questions instead of jumping to conclusions. And it looks like acknowledging that power dynamics exist, even on a talk show couch. That last line lands heavily. The audience reacts loudly, a mix of applause and murmurs. Joy throws up her hands slightly. So now we're powerful. Whoopi cuts in before Brie can respond. Joy. I'm serious, Joy continues. We ask questions. That's our job. And answers don't always fit into neat boxes, Brie replies. That's mine. Sunny nods slowly, considering. I can respect that. Whoopi looks between them. I think what people are seeing right now is something rare. Nobody's storming off. Nobody's yelling. Yet, Joy mutters, half joking. Brie smiles briefly. I don't want to yell. I want to stay. That draws another strong reaction from the audience. Whoopi points at her. That right there, that's the difference from last time. Brie nods. I know. Sunny glances toward the camera. Social media is already lighting up. Joy groans. Of course it is. Whoopi smiles wryly. That's the world we live in. Brie looks thoughtful. And that's why moments like this matter more than clips. The audience applauds again, sustained now. Whoopi glances at the clock once more. We're not done, she says. Not even close. Brie meets her eyes. Good. The tension hasn't broken, it's transformed. Less explosive, more electric. As the camera tightens back in on the table, it's clear this conversation isn't just continuing. It's deepening. The applause settles into a low hum as the camera stays tight on the table. Whoopi doesn't smile this time. She looks directly at Brie, measured, deliberate. You said power dynamics exist here. Let's talk about that. Brie nods once. Okay. Sunny shifts in her chair. Because from where we sit, this table doesn't feel powerful. It feels exposed. I believe that, Brie says. And I don't think power means bad intentions. Joy lets out a small scoff. Then why bring it up at all? Because pretending it's not here doesn't make it go away, Brie replies. You have a platform that reaches millions. When something gets framed a certain way here, it follows people everywhere. Whoopi folds her arms. Including you. Especially me, Brie says quietly. The audience reacts with a sympathetic murmur. Someone claps softly. Joy leans forward now, voice sharper. But you also have a massive platform. You're not exactly powerless. Brie meets her gaze. I didn't say I was powerless. I said dynamics exist. Sunny nods slightly. There's a difference. Joy looks at Sunny. Is there? Sunny doesn't hesitate. Yes. That earns a reaction from the audience. Some applause, a few surprised sounds. Whoopi raises her hand. Let's not turn this into teams. Brie exhales. I don't want teams. I want accountability, mine included. Joy blinks. Accountability for what? For not always explaining myself well. For assuming people would understand what I meant instead of what I said, Brie replies. And for walking away when things got uncomfortable. Whoopi tilts her head. You did walk away. I did, Brie admits. And that left a vacuum. Sunny leans in. And the vacuum got filled with anger. Yes, Brie says. On all sides. The audience murmurs again, phones clearly out now. Joy crosses her arms. You know what frustrated me last time? Brie turns fully toward her. Tell me. Joy pauses, surprised by the invitation. It felt like you were lecturing. Brie nods slowly. I can see that. Joy raises her eyebrows. That's it. That's not nothing, Brie says. Being talked at doesn't feel good. Whoopi nods. No, it doesn't. Brie continues, voice steady. But neither does being reduced to a villain because you challenge the status quo. Sunny glances toward the audience. A lot of viewers felt defensive. Because they saw themselves in the criticism, Brie replies. Joy snaps back, or because they felt judged. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive, Brie says. The audience reacts sharply, applause mixed with a few boos. Whoopi bangs the table lightly. Hey, let's keep it respectful. Brie looks out toward the crowd. I'm not asking anyone to agree with me. I'm asking people to listen without immediately assuming malice. Joy shakes her head. That's hard in this climate. I know, Brie says. But opting out makes it worse. Sunny exhales. So you're saying the answer is more conversation? Yes, Brie replies. Even when it's messy. Whoopi smiles faintly. Well, you picked the right place for messy. That gets a laugh, easing the tension for a moment. Joy looks at Brie again. Can I ask you something honestly? Please, Brie says. Do you think we were unfair to you? Joy asks. Brie considers the question carefully. I think some assumptions were made about my intent instead of asking me to clarify. Joy presses. By me. Brie meets her eyes. Yes. The audience gasps softly. Whoopi watches closely but doesn't interrupt. Joy sits back, lips pressed together. All right. That's fair. That admission surprises the room. Applause breaks out, louder this time. Sunny looks at Joy. That doesn't happen often. Joy shrugs. Don't get used to it. Brie smiles, tension easing just a notch. I appreciate that. Whoopi leans forward again. Here's where I land. I don't think anyone here woke up trying to hurt you. I agree, Brie says. But I also think, Whoopi continues, that impact matters, even when intent is good. I agree with that too, Brie replies quickly. Joy laughs dryly. So we all agree and still don't agree. That sounds about right, Brie says. The audience laughs, the mood shifting again. Sunny looks thoughtful. Do you think this conversation would have gone differently if it happened off camera? Yes, Brie says instantly. But it wouldn't matter as much. Whoopi nods. That's the trade-off. Brie glances at the camera. People watching need to see disagreement handled without someone being labeled a monster. Joy sighs. Social media doesn't reward that. No, Brie agrees. But we can model it anyway. The audience applauds, sustained and warm. Whoopi looks around the table. I'll say this. It takes guts to come back here. Joy smirks. Or stubbornness. Brie laughs softly. Probably both. Sunny smiles. What do you hope people take away from this? Brie takes a moment before answering. That growth isn't instant. That you can mess up, get called out, reflect, and still show up. Whoopi nods approvingly. That's real. Joy studies Brie. You know people are still going to be mad, right? I do, Brie says. But at least they'll be mad about what I actually said. The audience reacts strongly to that. Applause, cheers, a few people standing briefly. Whoopi glances at the clock again. We've got one more segment. Brie straightens. Okay. Whoopi looks at her intently. And in that segment, I want to talk about what happened after you left this show last time. The air shifts again. Brie nods slowly. I'm ready. The audience buzz grows louder, anticipation building as the camera pulls back just slightly, the tension no longer about whether there will be conflict, but about how deep it's about to go. The applause coming back from break is loud and uneven, the kind that sounds like people have been arguing quietly during commercials. Whoopi waits it out, hands folded, eyes scanning the crowd. All right, she says finally. We're back. And before the break, I said we were going to talk about what happened after Brie left this show last time. Brie nods, jaw set but calm. Yeah. Joy exhales audibly. This is where it got ugly. Sunny turns to Brie. You disappeared from this space for a long time. I did, Brie says. And it wasn't dramatic. I didn't storm out. I just stepped away. Why? Whoopi asks, direct. Brie takes a breath. Because I realized I was replaying this conversation in my head more than I was actually living my life. The audience murmurs softly. Joy tilts her head. That bad? It wasn't one comment, Brie says. It was the pylon, the think pieces, the clips taken out of context. I'd be at work, and someone would ask me to respond to something I never even said. Sunny nods. That snowball effect. Exactly, Brie replies. And every time I spoke, it got louder. So I thought silence might calm it down. Whoopi leans back. Did it? Brie shakes her head. No, it got worse. The audience reacts with sympathetic sounds. Joy interjects, quieter now. People filled in the silence. Yes, Brie says. With their own narratives. Sunny glances toward the camera. We saw that too. Whoopi looks at Brie. Were you angry at us? Brie hesitates, then answers honestly. At moments? Yes. Joy raises her eyebrows. Still. No, Brie says. Not like that. Why not? Joy asks. Because I realized anger kept me stuck in that moment, Brie replies. And I didn't want one conversation to define my entire relationship with speaking out. The audience applauds gently. Whoopi nods. What about the backlash? The fans, the critics, the constant noise. Brie exhales slowly. It made me question myself in ways I hadn't before. Not my values, but my delivery. Sunny leans in. Meaning? Meaning I had to ask myself, am I trying to be right, or am I trying to be understood? Brie says. Joy lets out a small laugh. That's a dangerous question. It is, Brie agrees. Because sometimes the answer isn't flattering. The audience laughs lightly, tension easing for a moment. Whoopi gestures toward the crowd. A lot of people watching probably don't realize what happens after the cameras turn off. Brie nods. The conversations don't stop. They just get louder and less nuanced. Sunny adds, and much harsher. Yes, Brie says. There's no room for clarification. Just reaction. Joy looks thoughtful. So why come back now? Brie looks straight ahead. Because I didn't want my last memory of this table to be unfinished. The room quiets. Whoopi studies her. You know, not everyone watching is going to accept this. I do, Brie says. But I'm okay with that. Joy leans back. That's new. Brie smiles faintly. It's learned. Sunny glances at her phone briefly, then back up. Social media is intense right now. Joy groans. Already. Sunny nods. Hashtags, clips, people arguing about who won. Brie sighs. That's always the question. Whoopi shakes her head. This isn't a boxing match. But that's how it gets framed, Brie says. Someone has to lose. Joy smirks. Sometimes it's us. The audience laughs. Sunny looks at Brie. Are you worried about the reaction after today? Brie thinks for a moment. I'm aware of it, but I'm not afraid of it. Whoopi raises an eyebrow. That's a big shift. It is, Brie agrees. Because I finally accepted that being misunderstood doesn't mean I failed. The audience applauds, stronger now. Joy looks at her carefully. Do you regret saying anything you said back then? Brie shakes her head. I regret how little space I left for conversation afterward. Sunny nods. That's fair. Whoopi turns slightly toward the camera. You know, people love a clean ending. Brie smiles. Life doesn't do those. Joy adds. Neither does this show. More laughter. Sunny becomes serious again. What do you hope people take from watching this today? Brie looks out at the audience, then back at the table. That conflict doesn't have to end in cancellation. That you can disagree, sit in discomfort, and still see each other as human. The applause swells, sustained now. Whoopi nods slowly. That's something we don't see enough of. Joy points lightly at Brie. You also didn't walk out. Brie smiles. I wanted to. At moments. The audience laughs. But I stayed, Brie continues. Because walking away felt easier than finishing the thought. Sunny smiles. That takes restraint. It takes practice, Brie says. Whoopi looks around the table. I'll say this. I respect that you came back and said this to our faces. Joy nods reluctantly. Same. Brie looks surprised. Thank you. Sunny adds. I don't agree with everything you said. I wouldn't expect you to, Brie replies. But I appreciate how you said it, Sunny finishes. The audience applauds again, some standing briefly. Whoopi glances at the clock. We're almost out of time. Groans ripple through the crowd. Joy shrugs. Of course we are. Whoopi turns to Brie. Any last thing you want to say? Brie takes a breath. Just this. Conversations like this are messy. They're uncomfortable. But avoiding them doesn't make them go away. It just hands them over to the loudest voices online. The audience reacts strongly to that. Whoopi nods. All right. Sunny looks toward the camera. And for everyone watching, clearly opinions are divided. Joy smirks. Very. Whoopi faces the camera fully now. We know this sparked a lot of feelings. Brie adds. And that's okay. Whoopi continues. The conversation didn't end when the cameras cut. Sunny gestures outward. It's happening online, at home, everywhere. Joy nods. So we want to hear from you. Brie looks into the camera. Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories. The audience applauds loudly as Whoopi smiles, half serious, half warm. That's it for today. The cameras pull back as the clapping continues, the hosts exchanging quiet words, Brie leaning back in her chair with a long exhale. Off camera, phones are already lighting up, clips being posted, reactions flying in, some supportive, some angry, some confused. By the time the show ends, hashtags are trending, pundits are weighing in, and viewers are arguing not about who won, but about what was actually said. And for once, the conversation doesn't feel finished, it feels opened.